So my questions to you, and probably what our audience would also like to know, there is a law, that is the TPPR, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act of 2019. There are a lot of conversations around trans people, a lot of conversations around transgender identity. But when I speak to people in public or in other spaces, I generally realize that there is this ongoing confusion or vagueness about what is, or rather, who is a transgender or what is a transgender identity. I'm sure all of our panelists sitting here, guests sitting here, and students here as well. When I speak, I see people, are confused about sexuality, gender, and then comes the law which defines transgender. What is transgender? Swati, your first question would be.
It is one of the easiest questions that I have ever faced. Because the reason why I'm saying is, most people don't even try to understand what in reality the transgender defines or the transgender actually means. And more importantly, even after the Nalsa judgment and even after the 2016 bill and 2019 act came into place, through these years, what we have found or what we have seen is there is a huge politics of sex and sexuality. One who doesn't even understand what is the politics of sex and sexuality. Most of the time people also, terms me to be a controversial, but it is not about doing controversy on any subject matter. Because however that subject matter regarding the definition is very limited. Whereas the sex and sexuality politics are quite huge. So that what inculcate them in resulting that what we found is that we see impersonators everywhere. My concern was always that what the policy and schemes which are meant for transgender, that should actually flows to the original, but not to the impersonators. Now, why I'm saying this as an impersonator? Because many of the people nowadays you will find, they keep on saying that we are undergoing counseling, we can also be termed as transgender. Doing counseling is not at all a transgender or transsexuality. It doesn't define. See, what the clinical psychological counselors, that what they do is, they are just meant for supporting the psychiatrist. Until and unless you don't have a report from the concerned psychiatrist, you cannot term yourself to be a transgender. And that too, that is what not I'm saying. It is as per the guidelines what the WPATH says. WPATH means World Professional Association for Transgender Health. And if you see the recent Standard Operating Procedure Issue 8, which was published last year, that whether the gender reassignment surgeries or sex change surgeries and what are the newly involved or evolving principles to term a person a transgender, that has been inducted here in this standard operating procedures. But what I feel is no one does actually understand that. And why? And just because of this very reason, impersonators, they do easily come and get involved in this subject matter, terming themselves as a transgender. See, a person who is a transgender will be born as a transgender, will be living as a transgender, will be dying as a transgender. I am not saying that gay, lesbian or bisexuals are bad. I have a very good friends. Some of them are gay, some of them are lesbian, some of them are bisexuals. But they do term themselves as a gay, they do term themselves as a bisexual and lesbian. They don't term themselves to be a trans now. Because the confusion derives from therein. Because the persons whom we saw to be a gay at one point of time, terming themselves whether to be a top or a bottom, that is after all their personal choices. But the person whom we saw for the last time to be a gay, now terming himself or herself as a transgender. And that even creates a confusion within the community and of course the public at large.
Yes, I'll come to that. See, the confusion. So that is my exact question. Now, supposedly, to address this confusion, there is policy, right?
Yes.
And Section 2K of the TPPR Act defines it. So what is that definition?
See,
So if they need to understand,
Huh.
how do
So-
they know who's a transgender
So,
person?
as per the Section 2 of the Transgender Act, it talks about the definition of transgender. That a person whose gender assigned to them at birth does not matches with the present gender, but there is also a contradiction in that definition itself. It says again, for that gender reassignment surgery is not necessary. But at the same time, they says persons who are involved in the various medical procedures, just like hormone therapy, laser therapy, or any other medical interventions, they can be treated as a transgender. However, person born with intersex variations are also now being included under the definition of transgender. And apart from that, the socio-cultural identities. The socio-cultural identities means the Hijra, Aravani, Jokta, Jogapas, Shiv Shaktis, Tirunangi, whatsoever. They can also be termed as transgender. But I feel nowadays that there should be an strict mechanism to identify who are the real one and to eradicate the impersonators. After all, at the end of the day, what will come across is कि बहती गंगा पे कोई भी हाथ धोने के लिए तैयार तो है.
Okay, yes. I got a gist of what you said, and I'm sure our audience as well did. But here I want to know about, you're talking about a challenge in the law, and for a community that is again rife with its own challenges. Okay, it's difficult. It will be a difficult process.
Because this act, the moment it was being received, the moment this act received the assent of the president, on the very next day, I challenged its constitutional validity before the Supreme Court, and it's presently pending.
Okay, wow. I think we should wait for
Yes,
that litigation to be over, probably have some clarity on who's a transgender. Because
Yes.
see, even when I had conversations with people from the trans community, there were a lot of these challenges around the definition itself.
Yes.
And probably litigation such as these would in the future help us as in first the trans community themselves and the larger society to understand, okay, who is a person who's a transgender, basically. So this is very interesting. My next question would be, so okay, now you talk about, okay, there are trans people and the law protects their rights. When I started the conversation
Because
with you,
just to interrupt in the middle. Now, another aspect what I have seen is, means sometimes I think ki why our food is only the can be termed as a questionable character, because हमारा ही खाना क्यों जब तुम खुद कमा सकते हो. Why I'm saying this, because the new emerging problem that what we are seeing is there are some women as well, someone who might have breast cancer and who has removed their breast through the surgical procedures. Now, some of that women are also claiming to be a trans man. So that is what again creating a very challenging subject criteria for us to define then who are real transgenders.
okay, well, yeah, I think this is interesting because, but again, see, in this entire narrative, there'll be a lot of claims and counterclaims. But I hope that someday, very soon, probably through litigation or
Yes.
through policy, we can actually have a framework in place which does not further isolate people with trans identities. Coming to the next question, of course, something which will be much, again, easy, because I believe as a panelist, the question should be easy and the answer should be also equally easy, so that the larger, society or groups sitting here may find it easier to understand as well. The second thing, since I started with identity, there is the policy talks about transgender identity cards. So I'm sure there are also trans persons here, sitting here. And there are also young people, children, even from social work departments, who probably can work in trans communities and help trans people access something called a transgender identity card. What is the transgender identity card, and what is the process through which a trans person can get access to that identity card? Bidhan, if you can explain to all our audience here.
So see, according to section 5 and 6 of the Act, this lays down the very procedures that if you are a transgender, you can self-identify yourself. But again, see, there is again two distinctions. In the 2014, the NALSA judgment is very specified. The Supreme Court is saying that if you are a transgender, you can self-identify yourself to be a male, female and third gender. But this right has again been curtailed in the Transgender Act 2019. It says, section 5 says, you have the right to self-identify yourself to be a trans or a third gender. But at the same time, again this right has been curtailed by section 6. What section 6 is saying? That even if you declare yourself to be a transgender, you have to make an application before your concerned district magistrate. So once your application is received with certain documents under section 6 of the Act, and after verifying all those documents, the district magistrate will be the person who will be granting you the certificate as per the procedure laid down under section 7. And then again, it says in section 7, it says, the section 7 has a revisional change in gender certificate. Means, suppose you are a transgender and you want to recognize yourself to be a transgender, you have that right under section 5. Under section 6, the procedure, you can apply before your concerned district magistrate. And after receiving that transgender ID card and certificate, in future, if you think that you want to change yourself medically, means if you want to undergo for a medical procedure, whether to become a male to female or female to male, whatsoever. In that case, after having the surgery, then again you have to make an application. And that is as per the provision laid down under section 7 of the Transgender Person Protection of Right Act 2019. And then after verifying all those documents, including your medical documents, then the district magistrate will provide you a certificate by laying down the binary gender on that certificate, that male or female.
Thank you so much, Swati.